Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a brand new proposed HTTP method that is generating a massive amount of buzz in the web development world. It's called Query. And to really grasp why this is such a game changer, we kind of have to rethink how the internet fundamentally communicates from the ground up. To truly understand why we even need this new method, let's compare our web servers to a traditional, perfectly organized public library. Just picture it. You walk into this incredibly quiet, pristine library. You're on a mission to find some highly specific information. But here is the catch. How do you ask the librarian a really complicated question without causing absolute chaos? This isn't just a fun hypothetical. This is literally the architectural dilemma developers are facing every single day. We constantly have to ask our servers complex questions, filtering through millions of rows of data just to find exactly what the user wants. But honestly, the established rules of the web just weren't built for the level of complexity we demand today. So let's look at the tools we currently have to see where things break down. Let's establish the status quo first. Think of a classic GET request as simply walking up and asking the librarian for a specific book. You aren't changing anything, you just want to fetch some data. Now, a POST request, on the other hand, is like showing up and donating a brand new box of books to the collection. You're creating new data that actually changes the library's inventory. Then we have PUT, which is basically replacing an entire damaged book with a fresh copy. Patch is like fixing just one torn page. And delete, well, you guessed it, that's permanently removing a book from the catalog. Now, for decades, these methods have been the absolute bedrock of web communication. But, as you're about to see, they hit a serious breaking point when our requests stop being simple. So how quickly do things spiral out of control? Take a look at the left side here. That is a beautifully simple request. Get users. It's so clean. It's just saying, librarian, please show me the users. But what happens when you don't want all the users? What if you only want developers, specifically located in India, with exactly 5 years of experience who know specific programming languages? Well, because GET requests traditionally don't have a body to hold all that data, developers are forced to stuff every single one of those filters directly into the URL itself. Look at the right side. That is the equivalent of standing at the front door of our quiet library and screaming a hyper-specific, massive list of demands across the room. It's messy, it's hard to read, and get this, URLs actually have character limits. If your search gets too complex, the server might just reject that ridiculously long URL entirely. Now, developers are inherently problem solvers, so when faced with the limitations of screaming a massive GET request, they engineered a clever, though totally imperfect, workaround. To avoid shouting that huge, messy URL, we often just send a POST request to a custom search endpoint, usually something like post/search. Remember, unlike GET, a POST request actually lets you send a nice, neatly packaged body of data behind the scenes. Going back to our library, instead of yelling across the room, you are now walking calmly up to the librarian and handing them a sealed package with all your complex search criteria stuffed inside. Sounds great, right? Well, actually, no. Handing over that package introduces a massive semantic contradiction into our architecture, and it completely confuses the librarian. Because here is the massive trap. And this is the kind of thing that makes strict software architects literally pull their hair out. Using POST for a search is like filling out an official book donation form just to ask where the bathroom is. Remember our earlier rules? POST normally represents an operation that changes the server state. It creates something new. So when you use POST just to read data, you are fundamentally confusing the server. It looks like you're trying to alter the library's inventory, when in reality, you're just running a complicated query. This breaks caching mechanisms, it triggers totally unnecessary security checks, and it blatantly violates the semantic meaning of HTTP. We are basically lying to the server to get our job done. Enter the brilliant solution the internet engineering community has been cooking up, the query method. Query is designed to finally give us the best of both worlds. It provides the safe, read-only semantics of a GET request, but crucially, it allows for a request body to hold all those complex filters. In our library analogy, this is like the library management finally realizing the flaw in their system and printing out a brand new, dedicated, complex questions form. You can hand this form to the librarian, fully loaded with your specific criteria, without triggering the book donation department or changing any inventory. It's honest, it's incredibly clean, and it restores order to how clients and servers talk to each other. This really highlights why query is such a massive deal for the future of web design. First off, it safely hides all that complex data right in the request body, saving us from those monstrous, screaming URLs. Second, it keeps the request safe, meaning the server knows without a doubt that this action, won't destroy or create data. Third, it remains completely idempotent. Now, that's a fancy engineering term, but it basically just means that whether you ask the exact same question one time or 100 times, the state of the library remains exactly the same. The library doesn't catch on fire just because you keep asking for the same book. And finally, it clearly tells the server, the proxies, and the browser, hey, this is just a read operation, which unlocks so much better performance and caching. Let's actually look at the mechanics of this and see how it builds a better web. Instead of a messy URL that goes on forever, or a semantically completely incorrect post request, you just use the word query. You point it at the /users endpoint, and then you cleanly hand over your exact requirements in the JSON request body. It's like handing a perfectly organized tray of parameters to the server. Right here, we are specifically looking for users with skills in Python and FastAPI with 5 years of experience. The intention is instantly clear to a human reading the code and mathematically clear to the server processing it. It completely 100% eliminates the need for stringing together endless parameters with ugly question marks and ampersands. Okay, now before you pause this explainer, open up your code editor and try to rewrite all your existing applications, let's ground ourselves with a critical warning directly from the source material. Query is very new. Support across frameworks, browsers, proxies, and general infrastructure is still evolving. So please do not go replacing every GET request with it tomorrow. This is a proposed standard. The plumbing of the internet is incredibly vast, and getting every single router, firewall, and backend framework to recognize a brand new verb, well, that takes time. If you try to force a query request through an older system today, there is a very good chance it might just get blocked or completely misunderstood simply because the system only knows how to handle the classic GET or POST. So, what does this all mean? The query method offers a dramatically cleaner, more logical way to communicate complex ideas across the web. It effectively solves a massive structural headache that developers have wrestled with for years. But it does leave us with one final provocative question to ponder about the future of our digital architecture. Even when the technology is fully ready and supported everywhere, will developers actually abandon their trusty old post search workarounds? Query promises a beautiful, cleaner web, but are our frameworks truly ready to adopt it, or will those old messy habits die hard? It is absolutely a fascinating shift in web standards to keep your eye on. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.